Hello, I'm George Gonzalez, and I'm obsessed with making games. Today, we are going to level up, and we are learning about animation events that you can trigger during an animation. We're going to talk about what, why do these, and how these can help you, and a lot of tips and tricks that you'll run into as you add them to your game. So this will save you time and headaches when trying to do specific things. So we'll go over it right now. Animation triggers are in here. I'll show you. I have an animation chosen here. I have the animator in here. We have this trigger event where you'll go from here to any state when the condition is here that there's this trigger. So if I do animator.set trigger and I do attack, it'll do the attack once, and then it'll go back to simple movement. We have this animation, right? And you're like, I have a slash attack in my case, and I want to trigger this effect. Or maybe you do a trail render through the slash. I don't have a trail render because we're going to go over certain things, but if you want a trail render, you don't want the trail to go like everywhere the enemy is, swinging the axe around. So you want it to trigger at certain parts. And if you do that with a script, you're going to have to like time it and try to adjust it with the script to make sure it goes along with the animation. And that can be tedious because the ideal scenario is you import an animation that an artist gave you. You set up parameters and you tie it to that. And if artist updates the animations, you want to be able to drag, drop, replace, and everything's still the same. Or maybe you'll be able to tweak it without changing much. And so that's the first thing that we're going to talk about, how to set that pipeline up. Because oftentimes I've seen in videos, so this is what happens. You have an imported animation. And in the videos, in the tutorials, they tell you, oh, if you go in here, because you can't edit this, they'll tell you to go like this, duplicate it. Now you have the animation / attack or whatever you want to call it. And then in here, you can edit the stuff, right? Like you have all these parameters that you can add. But the problem with this is that once you have this set up, if I change this rig, if the artist gives me a different or a slight tweak in the animation and I re-import this asset, this animation is no longer going to match. It doesn't read from here. And so my advice is to not duplicate it. So in here, we're going to delete that. And my advice is to change it on the import settings in here. So we have when you click on here, you can change model, rig, animations. And in these animations, you can import, like I changed the name here. I have these import settings changed. And then in here, I have the event triggers. It's start slash and start or slash end. So I have these two events that I set up. I right click and you can add an event. You can also delete and copy event. So add an animation event. So you have to make sure you click on the root on the import FBX. And in here, you can also change the float and the int. If you wanted to pass like a number throw, it would do that. And the same for this one. You can pass different numbers for some reason if you need that, string, objects. And so that's something that you can do. The main reason why I have these two is because I have a start and an end on the slash. If you had a trail render, you could activate these. And I'll show you the script. So when you set this up, this is the function that it's going to be looking for. This is the name of the function. Okay, that is the first thing you need to know. So in here, if I set up the event and I don't have any functions, it will trigger some errors on the logs to say, hey, there's no event, and the animation is trying to trigger events. So that's something to understand. If you're going to reuse this animation for something else or some other rig, for let's say you duplicate this and you have another NPC that's an Axeman and you play this animation, if you play the attack animation and it has an event, it will want to trigger that event as well. So there's kind of dependency on, if you're using the animations now, this animation has an event and it has to be implemented somewhere. Okay, so that's tip number one to kind of remember when you set these events, you have to understand that you have them. So if you get errors later on, it'll tell you that it's looking for an event. And you're like, where's the event? I can't find it in any script. And it's because it's in here. Okay, so make sure you remember. The other thing is the import settings, right? Change the import settings. Don't duplicate the animations because that way you can streamline. And if I update this, it'll update with these import settings. So it's all set up so that it doesn't cause headaches in the future. And you can tweak things. Then in here, I have this /VFX handler. And in here, it's pretty straightforward. It's just some generic collection using system. Always make sure that you are aware of what you're using, the namespaces. Okay, so we have a /VFX handler. So this handles the VFX. I have the start slash and the end slash. So the animation is going to call these functions. And I have this /VFX blade and this damage dealer. And then we have the stop and the activate. So I basically turn on the damage dealer so that it only deals damage during that event. Instead of, having the axe there and players, because oftentimes if you have an NPC and it has an axe and a player touches it, it might damage. And so I like to have it here. And so the effect and the damage dealing go hand in hand. Other things that I'm going to improve, obviously later on, is the spell system, because the enemies will use mana. And so maybe if they have mana, they'll use the fire enhancement on the attack. But if they don't have mana, then it'll just be a normal attack. And so I have to change those things and network them. But for now, this is going to get you through everything that you need for your animation triggers. Okay, so now you know how to trigger the animations. And it's more robust. If you look at what I used to have, if you watch the other videos, you know that I had an event in here where, see, we have these like NPC attack and RPC attack animation. And in here we had an RPC. And so then we set trigger. We still do have the animator because we have to trigger that. So the animation is triggered by whatever is going on with the event. So we still need the attack to trigger from here, but we don't need to use this for the weapon or the effects, right? So we have this end damage. So we no longer need to know the end of the loop because we have a trigger. Okay, so this solves that problem. And then the last thing that I want to talk to you about, and then we'll see the attack, is the last tip. As you see, if I'm here, we have the VFX and we have the head VFX. And I used to have the head VFX because I was testing some things. 2 tips with this, and that is that when you have particle systems, you'll often see in packs when you buy or the free assets, you'll see that the top parent will have a particle system on top. And the reason for that is because when I have a particle system on top, it'll play all the effects at the bottom. So you'll see that this plays, all these are playing because of the parent. Now, if I remove this particle system, all these won't play unless I play this one, right? So there's a parent to child relationship that will help you so that you don't have to trigger all these other effects. And some are a little bit more redundant than others. I'm still playing around. This is just a temp thing that I'm doing just to go over the top and test things out. And you'll notice, and I'll show you in a second how it looks. But the main idea is that we have this, we have the damage trigger. So we have a VFX that we when we hit, we deal damage. And this is the damage percent. All this stuff comes from the enemy. Once the enemy has the level, it'll replicate that. But the main part is like, okay, now I need to trigger this effect, right? And what happened is that some of these effects linger for longer. They have a delayed time. And what happens is if you press particle stop, right? If I do stop here, you'll see that it stops automatically. In the game, it did not stop some of the VFX. So some of these effects still went, but they didn't go because the effect was going. They kept going because they have a lifetime. So if there's certain particles that have a lifetime, like an image, and it'll continue for the rest of the lifetime, even after the particle is done. And so what happens is that you're like, oh my gosh, I got to turn it off. And so then you're like trying to turn all of them manually, but that's not what you need. Okay, that's why if you go back to the script, you'll see that I have a different call for the stop. And this is something that will help you and it'll save you time, is stop emitting and clear. So this will also clear any lingering particles. So it doesn't matter how long the emission. So that gives you room to play around with things. If you do want some things to linger, like you do a slash and there's amber, like a little particle going up, you could do that. And you can make sure that the rest of the stuff is killed on immediately and clear. So you can control those things based on what you want. So this will help you a ton. So this is perfect for that. So that if you run into problems, that's why I did all these particles, right? I could just have a trail render. That would also fix everything, is you just have a trail render. And this is not like the best right now. The main thing is that it's working. So let me show you what it works. And if you have any questions, let me know. This should get you through any function that you need for your animation. So this is cool because even if you have, let's say you have 3 different attacks in one animation where you have a combo, I think Mixamo has those combos, you can set up different events within the same animation. So you can trigger all the different effects, and it could be pretty cool. So where you have, if you have like a red slash, like a Marth in the Smash Bros, Melee or Super Smash Bros, Melee, or any of Marth has like where it goes side attacks, and each one does a different slash, and the final one deals more damage. And I think each combo has a different color effect. So you can do that. Let me show you. So I have this guy. He's running. He'll attack, right? And because I'm buried because the rig. Let me double check, make sure I fix that. And see, and it'll hit. And I spawn. That's on the damage dealer. But see, you'll see he just boom. And so, yes, trail would be better. Maybe I could add some particles that like emit as it goes, so they're left behind. But right now, I just need some assets. Let's just see if this works. And so he's hitting me. He's dealing damage. He's about to kill me. And then I go back and respawn somewhere there. But the main thing is that it's working, right? We have an enemy. We have the attack. It's super cool. We can do whatever we want with it. And If you have questions, let me know in the comments below. If you need help finishing your games, and if you're serious about game dev, I have a community where I'm trying to gather developers that are serious about game development and want to really push their game to actually finish their game and publish, and then learn how to make money off their games. So if that interests you, I have a community school. It's called Endgame Devs. And we'll see you on the next video. We're going to go over the network part of this enemy and how to make sure this all works in sync with the multiplayer aspect. We'll see you on the next video.